I am Matt B. No, let me dive deeper into that.
Okay.
I'm a recording artist. I am a philanthropist. I am from Chicago, and I love music.
That's a lot of added information on there that I did not know about. So let's start out with the basic one. You have a new song out, which I'm excited to talk about. And I'm already said the title in the whole premise of the promotion of it. I'ma Say It is a great song. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I'ma Say It was recorded during the pandemic. So, it's one of those records where even if you listen to the lyrical content, it's like, I'ma say it, just let me talk, then you can speak. I hold back, I bite my tongue, you know what I mean? So it's like one of those situations where it's like, you really want to say something, you really want to let something out, but you're not sure exactly how to say it or if it's a good time to, or like if your significant other would even be okay with it. So it's like, I think that we all struggle with that at times where we want to tell our truth to whoever that person is that we want to tell it to, but sometimes it might not be the right time frame, or sometimes it may be difficult, so we find ourselves kind of holding back.
I'm curious to know, in terms of writing it, what was the I guess I say the source of inspiration? Was it something that you had done with somebody, or was it just an overall collective?
Well, first of all, shout out to Sick Pen. I mean, he is an amazing writer, amazing co-writer, amazing person in general. So it's like, he's always getting me to push my pen to the next level and all that stuff. So I really look up to just his overall skill set. And just for that record in general, it's just one of those things where, like I said, it was during the pandemic. I mean, you're cooped up in the house. You start finding out things about people that maybe you didn't know. You're bumping heads, whether it be with your significant other, whether it be with family members or whatever. And I think that really tested everyone's patience. So it was kind of like one of those things where, how do I express that in song format? How do I express that in written format? And I'm gonna say it just kind of felt right.
Collaborating on the song during the pandemic, was there any kind of a bit of like struggle in the digital aspect wise, or?
Definitely is never the same as when you're actually in the studio with someone. That always is just like a completely different vibe. But I think like during the pandemic, people, especially companies and that such, really figured out really cool ways of still getting that communication across. Like even what we're doing right now, like, Zoom really wasn't a thing, or this level of communication wasn't really a thing prior to the pandemic. Maybe we would have been sitting in a studio and just kind of speaking to one another with the lights going and the microphones and all the rest of that stuff. But the pandemic really opened up that digital era just a little bit more, and that's kind of what we did. And they created like some really cool software on Pro Tools where you can go back and forth with someone. You can hear audio recordings in real time as someone is tracking them. So it really, even though it wasn't the same, I feel like it was more than made up for with some of the newer technologies that were brought about during the pandemic. So it was fun. A very interesting dynamic, and not even just for, I'm gonna say it, just for records that I have just worked on just in general throughout that time frame. And now at this particular point, I find myself not even really going into the studio physically as much as I used to. Like even with that record, like that record, I'm gonna say it, was recorded on this microphone, which is a Lloyd 640. But like some of my newer records that's going to be coming out, I recorded with a U87 that I just recently got, and a lot of those records were tracked at home, even though it doesn't even sound like it. So it just goes to show, like in this era, like you can get like that crazy, very high end studio quality, even though you're not like physically in what most people would deem to be a real studio, right? So
I mean, a studio is wherever you have a microphone and time alone, in
for
theory.
sure.
So, with that kind of being said, was there always something that you kind of just missed about like the studio aspect?
Uh Definitely, I really like just catching a vibe with either the co-writers or the producers or just anyone who is currently in the room, and just feeling that energy. Like, there's nothing like it. The record always turns out different depending on who is in the room. It's almost like I have this theory, and I know a lot of musicians do, like, that person was meant to be there in order for that record to be created. And just one person not being in the room, you just would have gotten a completely different record. You know what I mean? When I think about, sometimes I think about, oh, well, how would this record have sounded if, like, I would have been in the studio with so and so versus so and so, or if I would have physically have been there versus just doing it over Zoom or doing it over some other platform that allows us to create some sort of dialogue between one another. So, like, I even went as far as to, like, with some of the writing that I was doing with some other writers, you can do like the iPhone Notes app, and like it updates in real time and all that stuff. So that was kind of cool too.
So, with that in mind, what we're expecting from this new album of yours is going to be more personal because you
Oh,
are within your own self, not many people around you at home. So I'm kind of curious in terms of how that's going to sound in comparison to your previous work.
yeah, I feel like I'm getting a lot more vulnerable with the type of music that I'm currently producing on my own and collectively with some of my team. As far as the new album, it definitely is very personal. I feel like it's very introspective, especially with some of the things that I have gone through over the years from the pandemic and things like that. And like even doing like counseling and stuff like that, and really trying to unpack, so to speak, right? It has really allowed me to tap into a lot of things that either I knew was there, but I wasn't willing to deal with, or things that I really didn't know was there at all. And that was a very interesting experience, and it has allowed me just to grow not only as a person but as a writer, as an artist. I'm really excited for my fans to kind of take that dive with me now.
I'm really excited to see what everyone else is going to think about the new song. And then I'm also curious to know the whole setup for the music video that you have coming out, or that's out now. So how much
Oh,
fun was it
for
doing?
Anase?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually have a really cool story behind that video as well.
All right.
So we were filming two music videos in one day.
Wow.
So we
Okay.
in two different locations, right? So the first video that we filmed is for a record that actually isn't out yet. It's supposed to be coming out towards the end of this month, pushing into September. The name of the song is I'm Here With You. So we filmed that song in the morning, and it was with a completely different model, completely different set. It was one of those sets where, like, like when like the old sitcoms and stuff like that, where they say never turn around because you'll see the fourth wall. It was like
Yeah.
one of those sets. So it was really cool because, like, if you were to see the video, you think we were in a house or think that we were somewhere, like, I don't know. But either way, it was just really cool to see like how that was done, and the fact that it was just a very, very creative vibe. So I'm very excited to share that video. But afterwards,
Yeah.
it was it was a very brief break, lunch, all that stuff. Then off to go film the other video, and the other video being I'ma Say It, right? And that video took maybe like 3 hours, maybe 4 hours to film, and the room was so tiny. That room
Really?
was Yes, that room was probably like 15 feet by 20 feet. Like, it was a very
But it's so tiny. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
it was a very, very small room. And shout out to Philly Flyboy, because you'd never be able to tell, right? Like, if
Oh,
I had I not
I would not know that.
yeah, had I not told you that, you would never really be able to tell that that room was so small. So we were like trying to squeeze as many angles as we possibly could out of that room. and, and it was hot. There was no air conditioning. it was a staff of maybe like about, we had maybe almost close to 10 people with us. So we had racks and racks and racks of clothes that had to stay out in the hallway. So because no one else could really fit in the room, it was so small, right? But we got it done, and I think it turned out amazing. So.
So now, with that being said, having everything in such a tiny scope, how did that kind of location come to be in terms of you guys filming it, or is it just because it was around the area?
So we found the location online, and we really liked the vibe of the location with the neon lights and all the rest of the stuff, and we just thought it was really cool. But because we were filming the video so close together, it kind of got lost in the sauce, so to speak, of how big the room actually really was. So we didn't know that room was that small until we got there. Yeah. And we're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? But like I said, thank God for Philly, because Philly is an amazing videographer, amazing director, and he did a fantastic job. That, along with my manager slash wifey Angela, like, she also did a fantastic job. She helps out a lot with the wardrobe and all the rest of that stuff. And shout out to my stylist Jesse and everyone else who was involved, because obviously I can't do this alone. So
Yeah, no, it takes a team to produce magic.
Yeah. So, and I have an absolutely fantastic team. So we came out with a great product.
This will be kind of like a fill in the blank. It says, I would like to see blank banned forever.
I would like to see blank banned forever. Oh, wow. I don't know. what would I want? Banned forever?
I mean, technically for me, Andrew Tate is almost banned everywhere. Almost.
Really?
I found out the news that he just got banned from TikTok and YouTube.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. Did he really?
Yeah, and it was like a couple days ago.
You know, his videos are everywhere.
They are
everywhere. Like, every time I turn on my phone and I scroll, it doesn't matter what platform, he's always popping up.
It will be like a little snippet, and then someone review of stitching the video of their reply to his comments, but they're everywhere.
Everywhere. Wow. Well, you got that one, so let me pick another one then. Banned forever. Donald Trump.
I think he is technically.
If we could ban him on social media forever, other than Twitter, I mean, that would be great.
Other than Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, no. Well, I'm sorry, because he's already banned from Twitter, right? So
yes.
Other than the fact that he just got banned, that he's banned. So other than Twitter, not. I want him to be back on Twitter. So
no. He can come back to Twitter. Just be banned everywhere else. Love that. All right. Here, let's do. Well, you're already married, so I mean, technically, I'm going to change the question, because originally the question was, what's one thing that you would consider a deal breaker on the first date? Was there any deal breaker?
I still would have a deal breaker on the first date, though, regardless.
Okay.
What would I consider to be a deal breaker on the first date? Someone who hasn't showered.
All right. That's very basic and basic too.
Yeah, but like,
now it brings it up. How many times have you been on a date with somebody that hasn't showered?
Maybe one or two.
Ooh.
Yeah, and if they did shower, I don't know, maybe they just left the gym. I don't know, but like, if you're like, oh my God, what does that smell? And it's not the onions being sauteed in the back, then then more than likely they have not showered, and that's a problem.
Oh, man.
Because that means their personal hygiene is shot.
Yes.
In which case, yeah, that would be a deal breaker for me.
That is a huge deal breaker. Oh my gosh. Well, technically, no, I'm not going to go into that category.
And that goes into fans as well.
Okay. All right. So
because there are a lot of fans and things of that nature where, they're sweating, they're doing this. Like, even for me, I make sure I shower before I do my shows. Even if I took a shower in the morning, I try and take one before I actually perform, right? Because it's hot. So it's like, so it's like, you know, for someone to come to a show or fan or whatever, like I'm really big on personal hygiene, and I have a very, very sensitive nose. So I would prefer not to smell what someone smells like if it's not perfume or cologne. So that's just my own personal pet peeve.
Well, you kind of brought it up. Typical favorite in terms of perfume.
I like sweet, fruity smelling, flowery smelling perfumes.
All
And
right.
I think that's probably from me as a kid, where like, because like, you know, I grew up in the church and all the rest of that stuff, and all of the women who kind of like were in the church or whatever, and older and younger women, right? They always had on like nice smelling perfumes and things like that. And me, I can distinctly remember being around like 2, 3, 4 years old, and you know, everybody wants to hold you when you're that age, right?
Oh yeah, of
So,
course.
so I distinctly remember women picking me up, and the first thing that I would notice is the smell of their perfume. You know, so I think that, and those particular scents were probably the ones that I really smelled a lot as a kid or whatever. So like those instantly like catch my attention when I smell those types of perfumes. Kind of strange, right? But
No, that's not strange. That is a good memory to kind of hold on to and kind of be able to pick a note. I'm like a huge coffee fan. I love the smell of coffee, but I
yeah.
also love the smell of tobacco from like cigars.
Do you?
Yes, I'm a weird person. I love the smell of cigars. But I won't like I don't smoke them or
What
anything.
type of cigar? Cuban?
I think it's Cuban, and then I know there's another type of cigar. I'm not quite familiar, but I remember getting as a kid those cigar boxes from
Yeah.
my father who does smoke cigars, and
Uh-huh.
those wooden boxes just infused with that cigar smell, and it just smells nice to me.
Isn't that strange though, that something like that from childhood can follow
Yeah,
you for the rest of your life?
it's it's such a great like small little token into the fact that it can be bottled up as a perfume for somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
Gosh, here, we'll do. All right, how about this one? What is something that you find interesting that most people find boring?
mm, that's actually a really good question. So I have several things that I find very
Ooh,
interesting, and I
okay.
hope that I don't lose you as I go down this road. So,
It's gonna be very
for
hard, but
one,
we'll find.
for one, architecture and mathematics, and
Ooh,
and that is because I actually have a bachelor's degree in architecture, and
okay.
I always was super interested in just architectural design, and I love looking at like the drawings because I love like things that are very clean and linear and things of that nature. So to see and like shapes that are just so, I mean, I just really enjoy looking at those types of things. So I really like the architecture, and I really like the mathematics, because mathematics is kind of like that reflection of the drawings. It's like almost like the written form, right? Like kind of
Yeah.
like you think of poetry, and then you think like you can say poetry or you can write it, and I feel like those drawings are interpreted in that form of math. The other thing would be like conspiracy theories and sci-fi.
Okay, you hit me with the conspiracy. Oh my gosh, I love a conspiracy theory. We'll go back to the architect. Is there a particular designer that you like, or
So
like a
obviously, like Frank Lloyd Wright is like super dope to me, because Frank
okay?
Lloyd Wright, he is originally from, or did a lot of his design work in Oak Park, which is a suburb of Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And I was born in Oak Park, but I was raised in Chicago. So that instantly, I have that connection where I was obsessed with a lot of the work that he did, especially with the juxtaposition and things like that of how he did his architectural design. I also like, I forgot the person who created uh, it's the tallest building in Dubai. I forgot the name of it,
Oh
but
no, I know who you're talking about too.
do you know who I'm talking about?
I do, because
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
actually a
know.
big fan of architect design.
Are you really?
Yes, and the
That's
moment
awesome.
I was hoping you were going to mention Frank Lloyd Wright, Purely because my uncle actually owns a Frank Lloyd home.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Where?
So it was the shoot, I don't know the particular name of it.
Do
It
you
was
know
once
the
owned.
state?
It's in Michigan.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
It was once owned by the CEO of Domino's.
Wow. That is awesome. Wow.
And there's a
I
replica
gotta
of
see
that.
that house one day.
But I was pulling up the Dubai one.
That and who's the person who designed Millennium Park in Chicago, who designed the and it's so funny because I wasn't anticipating having this conversation about architecture. So these names are just like me.
I know
Like
you
I
would.
can remember like the inspiration and how he designed it, but I can see his face, but I just can't remember his name off the top of my head. But anyway,
Here.
we're gonna have to come back to that, huh?
Oh yeah, you mentioned the second part of it being conspiracy theories. I'm curious, what's the fun new one today, or the latest one that you're on?
I mean, obviously, you know, there's always like the alien
Yeah.
conspiracy theories and things like that. And oh, that brings me to one that I just recently saw where they're talking about like, can we truly time travel, or
Ooh.
or is it not possible because now they're speculating that time is not linear. So it's kind of like it is interdimensional. So even if you were to time travel, you would see someone that looked like you and had a very similar life to you, but it wouldn't really be you. It would just be you on another timeline.
Ooh.
And then there's a isn't that
Yeah.
strange, right?
Here. All right, we'll do one last one before we kind of like wrap it all up.
Sounds good.
Unfortunately, okay, so the question is, unfortunately, no one has forgotten about the time I blank.
No one has forgotten about the time I've blanked. I don't know. Like I'm a pretty I'm a pretty cool dude. Like I don't really make those types of mistakes. So the first thing would be me having a motorcycle accident. I had a road rash across my entire arm and my back, which is why I have these tattoos now to cover it. So that would be, yeah. So I don't know if that would count, but I'm pretty sure no one would forget that because when I fell on my motorcycle, um, they thought I died because because it was a bad crash. So they thought I died, but I didn't, and I was able to get back up, no broken bones or anything like that. But they radioed into 911 or whoever called, and they were like, "Yeah, somebody died." It ended up on like the news stations, and it ended up on like some radio stations for traffic and all that stuff. And the only reason why I know that is because like later on that day, I was in excruciating pain because you know when you have an accident, like sometimes the adrenaline is so high you don't feel it right away. So when I went into the hospital and they were doing like scans and all that stuff, like the lady who was doing the scans was like, "I heard about your accident this morning, and they said you died." And I was like, "No, I didn't die. I'm very much alive, and I'm very much here. Thank God." That'll be one. Okay, the next one that I'm thinking of, which I guess would be considered embarrassing, would be I was on a college tour just prior to me going to college, and it was at like some university in downtown Chicago, and I used the restroom. And you know how like when you use the restroom, you put toilet paper on the seat
Yeah.
because you don't want to sit directly on it. So I did that, and then when I got up, the toilet paper was hanging.
Oh shoot! The moment you said the toilet paper ring, I was like, "Oh, I know what's gonna happen."
Yeah. So the toilet paper was hanging from my pants, and no one told me for like an hour. So I'm walking around for like an hour with the toilet paper hanging from my pants, and then some girl who I had anticipated speaking to and getting her number before I left was like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that you have toilet paper hanging from your pants." And I was like, really? And I pulled it out, and it was just like this long string of fucking toilet paper. And then she was like, yeah, you don't want any cute girls to, you don't want any of the cute girls seeing you with that, or whatever, one of your pants or whatever. So.
Oh no! I gotta ask. Did you give her your number?
I think I did, but I don't think she ever called me because that toilet paper was a deal breaker.
Wow. I don't know how we can bounce back from that. Wow.
We can't. We can't.
We can't. All we could do is just end it.
We gotta end
here.
it on that note.
We gotta leave it on that note. And with that, where can we find you, Matt?
If you want any more embarrassing stories about me, or if you just want to listen to some music, you can follow me at Matt B World. That's MATTB World. Once you step into my world, you won't want to leave it.